Detroit Lions have kicked off training camp for 2025 earlier than all the other teams in the NFL, but we already have some major injury news. Let's kick it off. All right, just a couple of hours ago, while we were live on the morning show, the Rise and Grind morning show on a Sunday morning, we got some information through sources. Obviously, a lot of you have already seen it. Ennis Rakestraw has suffered a chest injury during the early portions of camp this morning. It's just day 2, right? With everybody in the house, and the Lions are already up against it, losing some what are supposed to be major contributors to this season. We've already seen the reports and early, on today's press conference with Dan Campbell highlighting multiple players that are going to be out at least through September. Starting left tackle Taylor Decker and starting interior defensive tackle Levi Onwuzurike, who's out for the season, to name a couple, right? But there's plenty of players that are up against it this season. But now Ennis Rakestraw. Let's take a look at what's happening here with Ennis Rakestraw. So the early concern. This is by Heavy on NFL in training camp with the second round pick, Ennis Rakestraw. So unfortunately, the Detroit Lions kicked off camp this morning, and shortly into it, Ennis Rakestraw suffered a chest injury. The article states that the Detroit Lions experienced really bad luck last season, right? Of course we did. We had more than 18 players on IR, and it was the majority of injuries on the defensive side of the football. Unfortunately for this team in 2025, it seems like we're picking up right where we left off, according to the article here. That's not good, right? We can't have that. There's a reason why my moniker for the season is against all odds, because we've been up against it all last season. Detroit's been up against it for the entire history of that city and that history of these sports teams. We've just been up against it, man. But the Lions especially, not being good for 5+ decades, and now finally at a position where we can win some football games. We've got the right team and the right coaches and the right front office, and injuries are just killing this team. Now, Ben Raven reported on Sunday that Ennis Rakestraw left because of a chest injury. The Lions are evaluating this injury, but here is what I have heard. I reached out to a friend of mine in the league to see if they knew of anything, and they said not directly from the Lions, but what it sounds like from somebody on the sideline is that this could be a pectoral injury that Ennis Rakestraw could be facing right now. Now, it's listed as a chest injury. That could be a multitude of things. It could be a contusion, right? You could have a sternum injury. I mean, there's many different things it could be. It could even be a shoulder injury that's, percolating as a chest injury. But it sounds like this might be a torn pec, to which arm we don't know, or to which side we don't know. But that's a 6-12 week, rehab at a minimum. It could be a season that he ends up missing, depending on the severity of the injury. And if it is a torn pec, depending on the grade. Remember that, C.J. Gardner-Johnson last year was injured very early in that Seattle game, ended up finishing the game, but he wasn't able to come back until the playoffs in 2023. So it was a very long injury for him. Now, going a little bit further here into this article, it says the Lions drafted him number 61 overall last year. Now, why that is important is because Ennis Rakestraw was supposed to be a significant contributor to the team this season. He suffered quite a few injuries last year. Matter of fact, it says that he had missed 9 games because of multiple different injuries last year. And that is significant, right? There was an article that came out last year that said that the Lions should stay away from Ennis Rakestraw and not draft him. That came out prior to the draft, and I wish I had it to share this morning, but I don't have the article. I will find it. And they specifically stated his injury history, while in college, and he did have significant injury history, and he was injured to come into the Detroit Lions, if I remember correctly. It's still happening, right? He's still getting injured. So is this another Brad Holmes miss, is my first question. One of few, if it is. But is this, you let me know in the comments below, a Brad Holmes miss if Ennis Rakestraw is down yet again for the 2025 season? Now, in the 8 contests that he did get in last year, he only had 6 tackles, including 4 solos and 2 assisted tackles. So not a ton of production out of Rakestraw, but he didn't get, a massive amount of snaps either. It's too early, as this article states, to speculate, too much about this injury, but the fact that he had to deal with this very early in training camp, look, this is depressing news, right? Lions fans, man, we're up against it ourselves. And I think that all we want is good news right now. We want to know that this season is going to get off without a hitch, and it's already full of crevices. Everywhere we step, we're stepping on a landmine. Now, it appeared that he was ready to start at the nickel corner during week 2 of last year, but this season, he's been transitioning to the outside, and that's what Dan Campbell said, is that's where he's going to primarily play. Here's the good thing, right? So not good that he's injured, but this is a very deep roster when it comes to the DB room. I'm going to highlight that in just a moment, talk about a few players, but let's not forget Amik Robertson, Brian Branch. They led in nickel cornerback snaps last season. Brian Branch is now at safety. Amik Robertson is manning the nickel position. But like I said, Rakestraw transitioned to playing primarily outside corner. Now I want to speak a little bit as to why that's important. Because this roster, as you know, has Avonte Maddox and Rock Ya-Sin, as well as Morris Norris. All of those guys have enough experience at playing multiple positions, especially Avonte Maddox, who's a utility knife. That guy can play anywhere on the field. So I would expect that Avonte Maddox is now going to pick up a lot more snaps in the absence of Ennis Rakestraw. But Avonte Maddox was also supposed to be backing up our safety room. So it could be Rock Ya-Sin that now moves to the outside. I'm not worried about the nickel position. Ennis wasn't supposed to be there. Amik Robertson is a bulldog. We know that. That's his role this season. If need be, and Amik Robertson has to roll outside in sub packages, we could see Brian Branch leak back down into the nickelback role and go single high safety. So there's plenty of positional opportunities here for the Lions to be able to utilize everybody on the roster, but also give the Lions, plenty of depth. Looking up the depth chart today for the Lions when this happened, I'm going to pull it up again right now. It's pretty good. We're pretty solid in the DB room. 1 injury is okay. 2 or 3 is a problem. And I would say that for any team. But when you look at the starting left corner, it's probably Terry and Arnold. You look at the starting right side, that is DJ Reed, which huge upgrade with DJ Reed and Tyrion coming into his second year. I think the Lions are going to be okay there. And then Amik Robertson, we got a glimpse of what that guy was able to do last year. And he got a ton of snaps in the second half of the season. Amik Robertson is going to be one of the funnest, most fun, more fun, however you want to say it, players to watch this season. I am really excited. So excited I ordered a Robertson jersey. All right, so let's look at the backups, right? Khalil Dorsey coming off a major injury. Probably not going to impact the training camp a ton right now. Stanley Thomas Oliver, we know that he was recognized in the early part of injury concern, making, PUP lists and other lists the other day. We brought in DiCaprio Boodle. No idea what he's going to do for us. He does have a couple of seasons, I believe, underneath his belt. But Morris Norris, he's supposed to be a free safety, and Eric Hallett's supposed to be the free safety. But then you have Avonte Maddox and Rock Ya-Sin. Where are these guys going to slot in? So early, it was Avonte Maddox backing up the nickel position and the safety position. And then Rock Ya-Sin, again, another kind of a free floater, someone that can play in just about any position out there. So Lions definitely have depth. They even have Ian Kelly, and he is supposed to be at the strong safety position as well. I think he's out of GVSU. So a lot of new guys, right? The Lions brought in a few more players this over the weekend. There was 3 or 4 guys that were added to the roster, one being DiCaprio Boodle. But right now, Ennis Rakestraw, man, suffering a chest injury. From what I'm hearing, it's potentially a pectoral injury. Have no clue how long it's going to be. But we should be getting some news relatively soon, the next couple of days, on Ennis Rakestraw. So not great news to start your Sunday morning. Hope you're all having a wonderful weekend here at the start of the NFL training camps. Your Detroit Lions, man, we're off and running. I'd say we're going to be okay. So just take a breath and let's just hope no more injury announcements for the day. Or at least the week, maybe even next week. Let's just stay away from all the injuries. All right, y'all, go and probably go Detroit Lions. We'll catch you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.
The podcast.
Shout out to Rock on Detroit Lions, man. One pride.